Hey, what's up, everyone? I am about to get started. I just had my rabbit was about to eat my cable for my microphone, so freaked out. Just gotta reset the. Thankfully, he didn't chew through the cable, which he loves to do. He loves to chew through the cable. I hope it's not bad etiquette to have a little snack. I'm kind of hungry. There's some cashews. Um. Anyway, so on Tuesday, no, sorry, Monday, I was playing Elden Ring, and that was cool. It was something, but it wasn't really for me. I mean, I have it. I'll probably play it, once in a while because I have it. I have to learn more about the game. It's not like my style of game, I guess. Uh, but another game that I've been seeing around a lot is Horizon Forbidden West or something like that. Horizon something, whatever that is. And so that game looks really cool, but I've never played the first one. So this one's called uh, Horizon Zero Dawn, and thankfully it was only like $9 or something. It was, it wasn't very expensive, and so I started playing it last night just to see, what it was like, if I was going to enjoy it, if it was worth streaming, and I definitely enjoyed it. Enjoyed playing it. Give me a second.
Got it. Turning hallway off.
Let's tell Google to do something. So yeah, if you haven't played this game, it's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure for gamers you played it out. But anyway, I'm playing as this young lady, Aloy, and we've got a pretty big event coming up where she's gonna do this thing called the Proving, where she'll try to rejoin this tribe. Right now she's an outcast along with this guy who raised her from birth.
Let's get past them.
And she wants to know why she's an outcast. The guy who raised her doesn't know. Well, she's an outcast because he like had her name and he wasn't supposed to. But she doesn't know why her mom was an outcast and why she had to be raised by him and all this other stuff that's going on in the mystery. But so the opportunity she has is if she can succeed at this Proving. So he's trained her how to fight. Shoot, I didn't even kill this guy. We don't know what the game is about. Like, so right now I have this mission where I have to get these blaze from the Striders, and these things. So it's like this weird world. I don't know how to describe it. Or like these animals are kind of part of the game, and I need to gather blaze from these Striders, basically to craft fire arrows. The task this guy's giving me after cutscene is training. So anyway, the point of the Twitch, though, for those of you who are watching this either live as I play or later. I'm going to try to do a better job of downloading the stream because I know they erase after you're done. After like 2 weeks or something. So I'm going to try to do a better job of downloading them and just putting them up on YouTube so that, you know, people can watch them later and try to do a better job of promoting them. So if you're watching this on YouTube later, what I try to do is on Mondays talk about mental health or some kind of psychology concept, and on Thursdays talk about scripture in some kind of way. I'm going to try to keep sticking to that schedule. I don't know where these Striders went to. I think because of, you know, fighting those Watchers, they got scared and they ran off. Oh well, there they are. The Strider is like it looks like a horse type of thing. Okay. But anyway, I'm not the best at playing video games. I have fun. I think I do decently. I'm not at all like a gamer. And so I like trying things out, and I really want to play the new Horizon game, but I really, you know, I was like, let me try the new one first, or the first one, let me get through the game story, and see what that's like. So I have this, I think, just scan the animals. Now, you know, probably shoot this canister. So on Thursdays, what I like to do is talk about mental health. Oh shoot! Ah! What am I doing? I was pressing square to hit it, and that's not very good. Anyway, let's try it and die. Hopefully this is enough for what I need. I got one blaze, okay, so one kill. So yeah, Thursdays I like to talk about something from Scripture. And if you follow me on social media, then you know that I like to post weekly these... I'm not paying attention. It's one of the things that happens while I'm playing. I'm not the best at of watching my surroundings. I was like terrible at playing Madden while I was... Okay. So I think I'm safe now. I got all the plays, man. So I'm done with these things. I don't have to kill anymore. So I've been posting on social media these Torah readings weekly, right? And so what I was hoping to do with that is to get into the regular habit of reading the scriptures and select the fire arrow using R. Alright, and because I wanted to get more familiar with the scriptures, you know, one of my, I've talked about this on Twitch before, I've talked about this on podcasts that I've done, and I was actually just asked about podcasts on Twitter through DM. I do hope to get back to podcasting soon. I have a class that I'm teaching right now. It's been keeping me pretty busy. This week actually has been... I think I've gotten the students into a place where they feel a lot more comfortable dealing with their projects and stuff on their own. And the class wraps up in 3 weeks, so hopefully, you know, that's true. And I think maybe there's one student who just emailed me now about some help, but got prioritized. But I've been pretty busy with appointments and stuff, and so that's been a challenge for me, being able to do other things that I wanted to do. And so hopefully March 15th is the last night of that class. They do presentations, and then after that I'll be free. I don't think I teach again a class, and other work, just little things that really don't keep you guys busy. So I don't think I teach a class again until June or July. So I'll have some time to start writing again and working on the podcast. Anyway, I've talked about this on the podcast, talked about this on Twitch, how I really just wanted to get back to an understanding of the faith as Jesus authored it and Jesus perfected it. And it's actually pretty interesting that at our church, and this worked out like last year too, when the church that we attend online, the way things work is the way things worked like last year and the way things work this year is just like the messages and everything have like gone in line with what we wanted, or what I wanted to have personally happen in my life. Or it's gone I'm stumbling over it. It's gone perfectly in line with what I wanted to do in my life. It's definitely as if the Spirit is got this like common theme. And last year it was about prayer. I wanted to pray more. I wanted to know what it was like if I prayed every day, if I meditated every day. And then I got involved with a church that had the same message, and then was more active in its prayer life. And so we were praying more. And along with that, I wanted to know what it was like to have a knowledge of the faith that Jesus authored and the faith that Jesus perfected. And I was thinking about that passage in Hebrews chapter 12, in verses 1 and 2, where the writer of Hebrews talks about that in those terms, where he talks about the faith that Jesus authored and Jesus perfected. And I was like, since then, many men and women have come along and tried to write a faith and perfect a faith that they've come up with.
Even when my
and people have argued about those faiths. People have argued and created churches about those faiths that other men and other women have created. It's mostly been men, and we can think about some of the big ones like John Calvin, and in Calvinism, and some of the other names that are out there, and how some of the splits have come up in different theologies and concepts and doctrines and so on and so forth. And so I was thinking, if Jesus perfected this thing and he authored it, why do we have all of these splits and interpretations and divisions and misunderstandings and misgivings and just honestly differences of opinion a couple of thousand years later? Why don't we have one faith? So I went on this journey too. I'm going to go ahead and hit talk and see what goes on here.
Hello, Grata.
Oh, Mother, since I was cast out, have I not been constant as the river flows? Have I not kept the vows as the stones do? Show me your grace, All Mother, and provide for me once more.
Don't worry, Grata. I'll hunt your rabbits.
Oh, Mother, I hear your voice on the wind. I would count your blessings on my prayer beads, but I lost them atop the eastern overlook. My old bones are too worn to return.
So it's rabbits and your trinket you need this time. Okay, I'll find you at your camp.
So she wants rabbit meat. She wants rabbit meat. Kind of wasn't paying attention. So yeah, this, you know, I went on my own quest to figure out why, what is this faith that Jesus out there perfected? And I figured one of the most important things to do was read the scriptures that Jesus would have read, you know, or the stuff that he would have known. Now, since then, I've come to know that, I've come to realize that there's a lot of stuff in our Bible, right, that we can read, but there's also a lot of stuff in our Bible, or that's not in our Bibles, that Jesus would have read. Now, that conversation would probably be best for another day, but that was my goal, and so I started reading, and it was a little hard. It was like, okay, where do I start? And I want to preface this by saying, you know, I have read the Bible like from cover to cover multiple times in my life, and so there's a lot of familiarity in terms of where the books of the Bible are, where like some of the major verses are. You know, I know where like the main verses in Micah are, like Micah 6:8. You know, oh man, you know what is good to do, and walk humbly, and all that kind of stuff. You know, the stuff that you find on mugs and things like that. But like to have a, I mean, I was raised in a home where, so I'm supposed to be hunting. Am I supposed to be going, okay, this is just a campfire where you can save, so I don't think I'm supposed to be going there. Oh, gather meat. This is really fun. So, my mom would make us read through the Bible, these Bible in 1 year plans, like in the Daily Bread devotions, if you know what those are. They come to your house, they would be mailed to our house, and then they would have these reading plans. Oh shoot. Gotcha. Look at the board. I just needed to stop running. How far away is this thing? And so in it would have a reading plan, like we'd have to read some of the Old Testament, the Psalms and Proverbs and New Testament, whatever. So we'd do that like multiple times in the summer because, you know, what else are you supposed to do when you're not in school? I feel like it's too far away. I needed to stop running. Will it stop running? Maybe I should just... Oh, I don't want to use a fire rod. But again, I don't know. I just felt like I really didn't know, even though I've read it all before, I didn't really know what it was. And so I didn't really know how to start. And then I came across this understanding that the Jewish people forever have been doing these regularly scheduled Torah readings. I can't hit its headphones. I need a better angle. And it's even believed that when Jesus was alive, they were doing these same scheduled Torah readings. And like even when Jesus, if you remember in Luke chapter 4, Jesus went to the tabernacle and he goes to read, and he was given a scroll and he reads from Isaiah, and it's presumed like people wonder, like, was that something that he was reading, or was that something that was scheduled to read that day? But the idea was that, yeah, there were scheduled readings. Oh, I thought I could get it with one.
Prayer beads were the Eastern Overlook. It's not far from here.
Okay, so there were these scheduled readings, and so the Jew, and then so I found out that the Jewish people still have these scheduled readings. And then, you know, so I looked up like for Messianics. I was like, oh, do Messianic Jews still have scheduled readings? And I found out that the people at the Lion and Lamb Ministries still do Messianic readings. And so what they do is they put out what the Jewish people still read, and they add to it some readings from what they call the Brit Chadesh, or what we call the New Testament. And so that's what I've been posting on my social media. And I post it on my Instagram and my Facebook, and and TikTok. I have a TikTok. It's really not that great. I just, when I remember, post some stuff, and I gotta just figure out how to use that better. But yeah, I try to post those every week, and it's really just a way for me to get into the habit of reading through. So what you do is you read through the first 5 books of the Torah, right? The Pentateuch, or the first 5 books, which, you know, there's controversy. There's some who believe that those are the only 5 books of Torah, which is
The Brave Trail Up the Rocks is close by.
I believe the Sadducees believe that, and then of course they would put these guys there. Oh, shit. Keep pressing the wrong button. This is my problem with playing different games. I did put this on hard, so I'd have fun. So anyway, I think there was a Sadducees who only believe in the first 5 books, and that's part of the reason why they don't believe in resurrection. It is the reason why they don't believe in resurrection, because those first 5 books of the Torah don't have anybody being resurrected, right? Yeah, they don't. So that's and then the Pharisees, they kind of accept everything as Torah. And so that's part of the cause of their differences in opinion here. But anyway, this is kind of a side note. But so you read through those first 5 books, and then you also read something in the prophets, and which is those 2 passages usually relate to each other. So the passage from the Torah and the passage from the prophets. And then with the Lion and Lamb Ministries, they add something from the New Testament that matches with those 2. And then I usually do my own reading. So I'm talking, I didn't hear what this lady said. I usually count on the subtitles to say something. I am going to the right place. So, now, this past month has been mostly about, not month, it's been mostly most of this year has been about reading through the book of Exodus and some of the stories going there. And that's why I titled this particular session about Exodus readings. And man, I've had a lot of thoughts about the book of Exodus and how it relates to the foundation of the faith that Jesus offered and that Jesus perfected. Now, I'm a little... No, I gotta go up this way. Oh, I hate it when this happens to me. not really that focused. So then, I'm like, where was I supposed to go? There we go. Kind of cool. I like games like this, like an Uncharted or old school like Prince of Persia. Where you jump around. My daughter will get a kick off me watching me play this. It's not home right now. This is the way I had to get down here.
This looks promising.
Perfect. Anyway, so I've had a lot of thoughts about Exodus, and so I've been reading this and how it relates to the faith that Jesus authored and
Aha!
and Jesus
Brought us prayer
perfected.
beads.
I realized
I see why she comes up here to
why does it
pray.
take so long to get
It
through
looks
that?
out to Mother's Gate. I wonder what bothers me more.
Um,
That she ignores me, or that with all her talking to All Mother, she's never lonely.
She's just talking. Okay, so I've got to get back down. I'm assuming. I thought I saw it. Anyway, now one of the things I was noticing is like reviewing my notes. I don't even know if I'm supposed to do this, so I'm just taking a shortcut. She dies, she dies. Oh wait, no, then I have to jump through everything. Don't die.
Easy, easy.
Okay, so I was thinking about Genesis and how in Genesis God is mostly dealing with individuals, right? Like first Adam, Eve, and you have like these individual stories, and you've got Cain, Abel, and you see these relationships formed, and you've got Noah, and you've got people like Enoch, and I was hoping it wouldn't see. And it goes all the way like that, Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, and then it ends with Joseph, and then Exodus starts with Joseph, or starts with Joseph at the end of Joseph's life, I should say. And Joseph dies, and then the Pharaoh rises that Joseph didn't know. And then it continues on with Moses. And while it continues with a story about God's relationship with a man, with one particular person, it also continues on with how God then relates with an entire nation of people through that one person, right? So you've got God relating to an entire nation of people through a representative, through a mediator, I should say. And it's a really good word to use, actually, because it's the word that's later used to describe our relationship with Jesus now. Oh, whoops. The book of Hebrews calls him the mediator of our covenant, right? This new covenant that we have with God. And so when you're looking through Genesis, it's God in a person, God in a person, God in a person. And then he promises this, he makes his covenant with Abraham, and he tells Abraham, "I'm going to make a nation out of you. I'm going to make a nation out of you. I'm going to make a nation out of you." But eventually, when they end up in Egypt, I was noticing how crazy it is that they end up,
There's Grata, all alone
moving
with All
there.
Mother. The only way she knows.
And the people end up like having no idea who this God is. They have zero relationship with him. If you just notice, like Joseph knows who this God is, and his brothers, presumably, through Isaac, they know who this God is, and they sold his brother and did all kinds of nonsense. But you have to assume, right? But then they end up living in this land in Egypt, and they just start growing. And something I never realized before until I read Reading While Black by Esau Macaulay, that those 12 sons of Isaac, including Joseph, who had first done it with Ephraim and Manasseh. Joseph had married an Egyptian woman who was African, right? Because Egypt is Africa, and so they all started having children with African people. Eventually, they would start mingling and mixing in with the African people there. I would say they grew into this nation of people 400 years later, because that's how long they end up living in Egypt before they leave Egypt, with the whole plagues and everything else. And so for that whole time, at some point, they lose this relationship with God. They don't even know who he is, and that's why they need a mediator between them and God, because they just have no idea who he is. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit, talk to Grata here.
Good news, Grata. Once again, All Mother has brought you rabbits. I found your prayer beads, too. Just try not to lose them again.
All Mother, each morning I find your tears of joy speckling the leaves. Joy at the beauty of all you have made. See how I cry now with you in gratitude.
So you'll cry for her, but you won't speak to me. Fine. Guess that makes you the better outcast. Grata, I may not be around much for a while. I'm gonna run in the proving, and I'm not sure what's gonna happen after that.
Oh, Mother, I thank you for the kindnesses you share. When the proving comes, in your great wisdom, may you give favor to a brave of generous heart.
I think I get what you're saying. Goodbye, Grata. For now.
Oh, Mother, hear me as I count off my years of devotion from these beads. Let me whisper to you as your soothing whisper comes in the hushing of the grass. Oh, Mother, see how the beads have been worn smooth in the turning.
That was what?
When they were new, I prayed for my elders, but now they are old.
Alright, what else do I have to do here? Need a craft runners to help you travel from place to place quickly.
I pray for the young.
Why would I drop it? Anyway, so they don't know who God is, and like I said, that's why they asked. That's why when even Moses doesn't know who this God is. I don't know if you ever thought about that. I thought about it definitely when I was reading through Exodus. That Moses doesn't know who this God is. what he sees is a bush, and he's like, man, this bush isn't burning. That's weird, because apparently these bushes would burn all the time, but they wouldn't just keep burning without burning up, right? And I don't know about you, but everything ever lit on fire would eventually burn up. At different rates, but they eventually burn up. And so what's it called? When Moses goes there to talk to or see the bush, and he's like talking to it,
Saving us from the
and
trail.
he's told it's holy and all this kind of stuff, and he's worried about it, and he's intimidated by it or whatever. And he says, like, who do I say sent me? It's literally because he doesn't know who this God is, because again, they've been thinking about it. The whole group of people have been living in Egypt for 400 years. Like, to put that in perspective, the United States of America hasn't existed for 400 years, right? We've been around since 1776 is when we declared independence, so 200 was 1976, 300 will be 2076, so we're not even to 300, and so longer than this country's existed, much longer, is how long the Hebrews were living in Egypt. Something I've only recently learned. Okay. I never get back to home, right? Just walking around. Maybe I should just go back, because I feel like every time we walk around, there's like something else. Anyway, you know what though? By helping people and go to the proving, they're like, you know what? She's an outcast, but she helped us deal with this thing and that thing. Probably a good thing to help them. If I can kill an animal, I can fast travel. I just see it. A real animal, really, kind of a real. Anyway, so the interesting thing I learned was that they were slaves for maybe, like when Exodus says that a new pharaoh rose up, that it was probably about 80-something years, maybe, that they were slaves. So it wasn't all 400 years that they were slaves. It was maybe about 80-something years. There's some debate about that, but anyway. At that point, the people live about, a full 2 generations, generation being 40 years, of being slaves, and so they're crying out for help. And presumably they don't know who this God is. Maybe they have some recollection of him. Maybe there were some who remembered the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Maybe there were some parents who over the time, all those years, did a good job of remembering and reminding their children of the covenant, and remembering Joseph. We know for sure that later when they leave, they take his bones, like Moses takes his bones, so there had to be some faithful people, so it wasn't a total neglect. But it just made me think about the faith that Jesus offered, and how in my culture, being Malayali and being Indian, how similar it is for me to come out of a place of total ignorance, and then to be called by God into this relationship
There he
with
is.
Him,
Looks nervous.
right? And I don't know about you, if you ever think about where your relationship with God really started. Did it start with you? Did it start with your family? If it did start with your family, how far back did it start with your family? With my dad's side, it started with his father, and before that, he was my dad's father was a Brahmin, a Hindu. So, and then with my mom's family, apparently, the history goes really, really far back to maybe when the disciple Thomas first brought the message of Jesus to South India. So that's really ancient, but it's it's something for me to think about. It's something for us to think about. I think to kind of relate. Um, you get called by God, you get saved by a miracle. It's how you think about Jesus' work on the cross and the resurrection, and then how they were saved. Now, obviously, like the people at that time in Exodus, they were saved immediately, and they saw that happen, and it's a lot like the church did. Were saved, right? Like they saw the death and resurrection happen at their time. So who do we relate to? I think we relate more to the people who lived a couple thousand years after the Exodus and had to hear about how God brought them through the Red Sea, and God, did the 10 plagues and brought them out of Egypt, and heard it from their parents. We're kind of similar to that, because here we are removed a couple thousand years from when Jesus died and rose again, and we're believing in the same story, right? So just kind of putting it into perspective is what I've been thinking a lot about when reading the book of Exodus. Now I'm just going to go ahead and have the conversation with Karst here.
Well, well, well. An outcast on my doorstep. All mother protect me.
Oh, you
Surprised you saw me the way you keep looking
in,
every other direction
Marvel
to make sure
movies.
no one's watching. Careful there, you'll sprain your neck.
It's always a pain in the neck when
He's in
you
the
show up,
Shang-Chi
girl,
movie
one way
recently.
or another.
All right, let's call him out.
Is there a reason why you're acting so cranky today?
Once you run the proving and get made a brave, you'll deal with traitors in Mother's Heart. Maybe I don't like losing customers.
Traitors who don't break the law and deal with outcasts, you mean?
That's right. Our days of crime will be behind us, so long as you keep quiet.
Are you worried I'm going to tell someone that you trade with outcasts?
I don't think you're the kind who talks, but you never know.
You can stop worrying. The secret's safe with me.
Yeah, that's what I figured, but I don't mind hearing it.
Why do you take the risk, trading with outcasts?
Every time you ask. If a big, meaningful talk is what you're after, move along.
It's because you used to be one, isn't it?
Yeah. Got caught poking around one of the metal ruins out beyond the Embrace. Matriarch said I was tainted and gave me 5 years.
What did you see in the ruins?
Nothing I can make sense of. After my shunning, I tried living back in Mother's Heart, but everyone I knew had moved on, and there were so many people everywhere I turned. I like it better out here.
The only person I've ever told about our trades is Rost.
Yeah, well, not like he can turn me in, even if he wanted to. Law and duty sort of a man, that Rost. I don't know how you stand it.
You really don't know why he was cast out?
I've told you no. I don't think anyone knows what he did, but it must have been serious because his term is for life.
Last time I visited, you had a tripcaster available for trade. Still got it?
I do. But you'd need to bring me a scrapper lens. What can I say? Special weapons don't come cheap.
Oh, I can pay. Took down a scrapper not long ago. Stripped out the lens in perfect condition.
I'll be the judge of that. Show me.
Scrapper wings. Oh wait, so. Has Strider wings, Watcher wings. supposed to give him a scrapper lens, right?
I thought you wanted a tripcaster. I'm ready to trade when you are.
I guess that concludes our business.
Oh, bro.
All right.
I guess
Good
they let
luck
me
in
go
the
through all
proving.
that, even though I didn't have
Blessing
anything.
of all mother and all that.
So I need to go where scrappers are. Can I save? Alright, where are the scrappers? Those are striders. Oh, brother. I gotta go all over there. Obviously, it'd be nice to fast travel, but I don't have the meat. Anyway. So that's the perspective I was putting in, right? Like, so I wanted to kind of compare the two. So in Exodus, you have the people who are witnessing their great action of their salvation. So where do we see that in the New Testament? We see it in the Gospels, where there's a witness of a new act of salvation, the Jesus' death and resurrection. And I think in the Gospels we also have a picture of what it looks like to have time pass.
Now they're hunting me.
We'll get to this right. And to see what it's like to know the story, of your salvation, but to be like a couple of thousand years removed from that story, right? Which is what we are. And so I think those are kind of interesting parallels to consider. But getting back to,
They're heading back.
but again, I'm really more focused right now. That's why this was going on, because I was supposed to come here, deal with this, and then get my Strider scrapper on.
Can you hear me? Brom, please! It's Alara!
Where is this coming from? Did I get my scrapper lens, by the way? But yeah, like I said, I've just been more interested in what's going on at the beginning, and then think more about what I'm supposed to be looking at the now. Still don't have my scrapper lens.
Here, Brom, are you out there?
I think he's hiding up top here. So, what happens at the beginning? In Exodus, they see a lot. Now, I kind of want to skip past the plague stuff in
Washes away the
Exodus.
taste of metal.
skip past the getting through the Red Sea. All really important stuff. It's the day of their salvation, the day they were saved. They were brought out from Egypt. Really important thing. I want to skip past it because one of the things that really stuck out to me that I never knew really focused on before was the first time God's glory appeared to the people.
Who are you calling out for? Do you need help?
I have nothing against outcasts. Far from it. But I shouldn't talk to you. I don't want to get in trouble.
I don't see anyone else around to help.
I guess you're right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be callous. My brother was cast out, but his sentence has ended. He should have come home, but he didn't, and his camp was covered in blood.
You said your brother's camp was soaked with blood?
The Braves went looking for him, and that's what they found. All I can think about is what might have happened. Is he really dead? Or maybe just wounded? Is he suffering? Does he need help? I can't stand it not knowing.
What are you doing out here all alone?
Each day I cut a notch on the wall so I knew Brom's sentence was over. Then I cut 3 more. But he still hadn't come back. I begged the matriarchs to send Braves to find him, and all they found was a blood-soaked camp. The Braves said he must be dead, but I have to know the truth. So I came out looking for him.
Why was your brother cast out?
Brom was always a little different. A little touched. One of the hunters had a cruel heart and never let him alone. I was gone but an hour, and the hunter set after him like always, but this time, Brom struck back with a rock and split the man's skull. Spirits made him do it, he said. Whispers of the forgotten. It cost him 10 years. I never should have left him alone.
What do you mean, forgotten?
All Mother curses blasphemers who won't repent, banishing them from her eternal memory. Those lost spirits are the forgotten. Brom used to say they spoke to him, told him to do things. It was such a burden for him, and there was nothing I could do to help.
I'll do what I can to find your brother.
This girl's too nice.
Then let me come with you. I won't be a bother. I know how to stay out of sight.
I'm faster on my own.
Just come.
If that is how it must be, just find him then.
I'd rather
Please.
them help than have to come back for them. Anyway. So, getting back to Exodus. So, in Exodus, so when God shows up, I think a lot of people know that... Oh, I don't want to do that. Can I take this rope down? A lot of people realize that, like, God showed up as a pillar of soap. By day. And a pillar by fire by night, right? But it's not until
They're scanning for me.
It's not until Exodus chapter 16, when for the first time there's a very specific word used to describe God's presence, and that's it's called the Kavod Adonai. Kavod Adonai, and it's just translated into the Lord's glory. And this phrase it's begun to be used there in Exodus chapter 16, and then it's used a couple more times throughout the book of Exodus. And that first use there in Exodus is when God is explaining the process of dropping manna and quail and everything else into the desert. And he says that they're going to see the Kavod Adonai in front of them. And then it's a reference to that pillar of smoke and the pillar of fire that they're going to see when it's time to move or to switch. Why can't I find a lens? It's crazy. Is there something wrong here? I was supposed to get a scrap of it. Now this phrase Kavod Adonai, the Lord's glory, sounds kind of like, okay, so what exactly does this mean? Well, it's actually really important, right? Because it's describing God's presence, and as it's revealed to the Israelites. And how they see him. And later on, at the end of the book of Exodus, they finish building the tabernacle and the tent of meeting, and these are structures that they can pick up and move with them as they continue to wander through the desert. And once they build it and they put together according to the work that God had laid out for them and the plans that God lays out to them for them. The Kavod Adonai rests upon them, or rests upon the tabernacle, I should say. And it says there at the end of Exodus, and this was part of this this weekend's reading, but this Sabbath's reading, that Moses just couldn't enter into the tabernacle, right? Because the Kavod Adonai is just too much to handle. And the other time the Kavod Adonai was described this way was when Moses received the commandments. When he received the commandments, he was allowed to go onto the mountain. But then the Kavod Adonai, the glory of God, descended onto that mountain. And it said that as the Kavod Adonai descended onto the mountain, there was a loud sound of a horn, a shofar, which, like, a shofar is a horn that they make out of a ram's horn. And so yeah, just to save this kid or something. Where is it? I'm a little confused. Like, what? Did I need a scrapper lens? Because none of these scrappers had lenses. Did I think about the wrong thing? Was I supposed to get a strider lens? Or a watcher lens? Sorry. I get this, playing this game distracted, but I was also supposed to help that girl with her brother, and I don't remember where I was supposed to go for that. I was supposed to go to the ruins? Anyway, we'll just go there. So there's a shofar, it's a ram's horn, and there was a sound of this ram's horn blowing. It was all scary. The mountain was all trippy. Hey there, sweetie team. The people couldn't go. The people just couldn't go near it, right? And it was all intimidating. Now Moses was allowed to go near it. He received the Ten Commandments, and so that was a.
You're alert.
And the point is that when you read the book of Exodus and you see over time that the people could not go near this Kavod Adonai, right? The only person that was allowed to go near it or even be in it was the mediator, was Moses. But when you read Luke's gospel, Luke and so this is when right, their faith is just beginning. Their moment of salvation just started, and their faith is just beginning. But you look at Luke's gospel or their moment of salvation just started. The similar thing is happening now. Jesus is just born.
This old place. I haven't been here in years. Wonder what I can find.
Is this guy behind the shelf? I don't want to be. Oh shoot, I probably gotta walk through here now. Anyway. Great. In Luke's gospel, Jesus is born, right? And there's that famous scene where there are shepherds who are watching their flock at night, and it talks about how these angels show up, right? And these angels have this message for them and everything. And something that I learned only because I learned what Kavod Adonai means when Luke wrote the story, he purposely reused the words Kavod Adonai. That the Kavod Adonai shone around them. And what's really important to understand there is that in the book of Exodus, the Kavod Adonai was always something that was afar, something that was distant that people could see. The only person, again, like I said earlier, that could go near it was Moses, the mediator. But here, Jesus was just born. He didn't even die yet. He didn't go to the cross. He wasn't resurrected. But for these shepherds, Jesus was just born, and that was good enough. Okay? That was good enough for the Kavod Adonai to now shine around these men and for them to see what Moses saw, to experience what Moses experienced, and that was the glory of God. Robert Adler explains that it's Robert Alter explains that the glory of God, and this is also explained in another part in Scripture where um, there was a king who also, was it Hezekiah or Manasseh? I forgot who it was, but also saw the glory of God, and they saw that God's throne was encircled by angels, um, and so there's a heavenly host that goes with angels. And Robert also explains that this image of this cloud can be described as like a halo of light around God. And so if you can picture it this way, there's God's throne, and then there's a halo of light that surrounds God, and there's presumably just this host, a multitude of angels that go around him. And if you add in the details from reading the book of Ezekiel, man, why did I fall into this place? It's just like a maze that I already went through and learned everything. So it's like no point. Like I went through every nook and cranny here, so I'm not missing anything. I know that. Like I've read all these notes and talked to all these people. I'm just trying to get through it. Anyway, if you add Ezekiel's notes, so you know that like God's throne is this crazy cherub thing where it's on top of this glass and it's sitting on a throne, and underneath it there's these cherubim, and the seraphim flying over it, and it's just all this wildness happening around it. And so that's where now these angels, these shepherds who are just nobodies at that time, it's just this despised, what's it called, job. Nobody's going to want to be a shepherd at this point. And yet God shows up to them, and God tells them, hey, I want you to go ahead and be witnesses of my glory, and I want you to go ahead and be witnesses of my son's birth, and go ahead and start to be witnesses to the world of the thing that I'm about to do. And I put that together with the writer of Hebrews in Hebrews chapter 12, and he actually puts these two moments together and these two places together. The God's glory, and then that mountain in Exodus chapter 19 and 20. It's like that scary mountain in Mount Zion where the Israelites see Moses go up on this mountain, and they become so scared, and they're like, oh, well, he surely died, and they go ahead and make these golden calves, and like, he can't be alive. He's probably not going to come back. Let's make golden calves. Let's worship the gods that we do know, the gods that we've known for a long time. Yeah, we suffered, with slavery in Egypt, but ultimately we think they were good to us. And plus, look at all this gold and jewels and stuff like that we had, and we can't ignore that. And so they make the golden calves and everything, and yet, like the writer of Hebrews says, we don't approach. This is Hebrews chapter 12. You can read it. It's like the last section of that chapter. And he says, we don't approach anymore this like scary, intimidating mountain, but instead we approach Mount Zion. We approach that throne of grace, that multitude of angels. And if you read into it and you know the history, you know the scriptures, and like this Kavod Adonai concept, and you're putting everything together, what Luke wrote about, and just the idea, the concept of what the Kavod Adonai is, and putting together the other descriptions of Kavod Adonai and how it's used in the book of Exodus, you come to realize that what the writer of Hebrews is saying also is that for the person who is now in this faith that Jesus authored, we no longer have a relationship with God that's based on this fear of getting too close to a fire that is all-consuming, okay? And that if we sin and we screw up and we make really big mistakes and we just, break the commandments and we commit evil, that God has no choice but to kill us. When Moses came down from that mountain, after they had created those golden calves, there's like 20,000 people that died afterwards. God allowed Moses to save everybody because God wanted to just kill everybody. And when you, I don't know about you, but when you read the scriptures, you read the Torah, and I really try to not use the word Old Testament because it makes you think like that doesn't count, or it's old, right? It's different from what the New Testament is. But you read, or God's different or something. When you read those scripture passages and you see that God talks to Moses, he's like, I just want to kill all of them, and I'll start with a brand new people with you. And God had already established like he just has relationships with individuals, and he's like, I will go ahead and make a new people from there. He's done it before. He did that with Noah. He's already said it to Abraham, and with Abraham, like he told him, you're old as heck. I'll create a new people with you. It's not a big deal. And Abraham had a hard time believing it. He was an old man. He finally had Isaac. But then you have this. So you have this moment, and Moses, on their behalf, he's like, no, don't let them all perish. Don't let the Egyptians and the world see that you saved them only to kill them all. Just punish the ones that did it. And he kills like 20,000 people. I think there's a bunch of people that die. They die by the sword. There's a disease that happens. Later, there's like a rebellion that happens because some people are like trying to step up to Moses and be like, we don't like your rulership and everything. Or that might have happened already. I don't remember the order, but there's just all this stuff that happens, and people start grumbling, complaining later, and God says, you know what? Everyone that complained, you're going to die in the desert. This is the same God that also sends his son to die on the cross and rise again, that we have this relationship with. And now the writer of Hebrews is saying we approach the throne of grace differently. We don't approach the mountain that we have to be afraid of. We approach the throne directly. But it's the same God. He doesn't change, right? So he doesn't change, but something changed. Something made the access different. Something made it so that I can go to him even when I do make all the mistakes, that even the same mistakes that those people made, right? Something changed. And that something has everything to do with what Jesus endured on the cross and the atonement that he made. Like has everything to do with that, because the way that the atonement works is that when the people of Israel, when they sinned, they had a mediator who would speak up for them and would save like the masses from dying, but he couldn't prevent God from keeping those who were accountable from dying in the moment. And for us, we still have a mediator, and the mediator is talking, and the mediator says, look, they have sinned and they're mine. And so that keeps us from dying. And that part is the same. But what keeps us from ultimately being destroyed is the fact that his blood, as it was spilled, speaks better things and is more powerful than the blood of animals. And that's like, as the writer of Hebrews space, and the more, and so that's kind of like, the basic stuff that I think a lot of people know. But going back to like what Jesus authored, and something that I never realized was this concept then that I can approach then the throne of God and be in that presence, surrounded by the angels of God.
Another day, Pat.
And
Back for more.
now, what does that look like? What's that like? Okay, let's see if this.
thought you wanted a tripcaster.
What do I need for a tripcaster? I do need a scrapper lens. Oh gosh, why am I not finding a scrapper lens? Oh, I was supposed to just buy it? Oh my gosh. What is this thing anyway? So you make a bunch of lines. Oh, you make them chase you. That's pretty cool.
Now that you've got yourself a tripcaster, practice how to use it someplace else, all right? My life's exciting enough without a bunch of shock wire booby traps to trip over.
Oh man, I wasted time. I
Really?
could have done that earlier.
Could have fooled me. Will you be around later, in case I want to make another trade?
I'll be here. Same as usual, bring me the parts you harvest from any machines you hunt. The better the parts, the more shards I'll pay. Be sure to take a close look at my inventory, though. Who knows? Maybe I've got something that could give you an edge in the proving.
I guess that concludes our business.
All right. Good luck in the proving. Blessing of All Mother and all that.
I've got what I need. Time to meet Rost at the North Gate.
Oh, finally. Now what does that look like, right? To be in the presence of God. This is where I'm like doing the comparative thing. Like, man, in their time, in Exodus time, how could you be in the presence of God and still screw up the way they did, like so many times? And I guess I was thinking about it, it's like, I guess they always kind of saw things happen. Like in their world, they could always see just these amazing things happen and just chalk it up to like, oh, the gods are doing this or the gods are doing that. And I think I was thinking about it, like even like what we're doing now, like just me playing and talking and getting on a video call or whatever, just all the technology, we can get so used to it, right? Like I was thinking about my daughter using her tablet today, and she's learning how to play the piano using an app called Simple Piano, and it's just like how amazing it is that she can do that. And I was terrified, full of anxiety the first time I went to my piano lesson, because the teacher just scared me. Just the way he looked and stuff, it just scared me. And how I was just amazed at how she can just do it at home, doesn't need to have a tutor, and she's doing really well. Like she's already playing with two hands, and she doesn't need someone here with her, and it only took her like what, 4 lessons? To get it all done, or to get to 2 hands. I never got to 2 hands, you know. Actually, I started using the app too, so it's pretty cool. But so I guess I can see like how eventually, when you're around something so much,
There
you
he
can
is.
just
Right.
kind of lose the wonder of it.
Aloy, you're here.
And maybe that's what happened with them. You know, when they see God doing all these miracles, they're just like, what's the big deal? You know, we've got gods who can do stuff for us too. We saw it in Egypt.
Calm down.
We just need to
We
make
should
them
speak.
and honor them. Let's see what's going on here with Rosh. Oh, I thought I hit.
Stop.
This guy's impatient.
You have the fire arrows.
I do. Those explosions and shouts beyond the embrace. Is that the trouble you were talking about?
You will know soon enough. Until then, we wait for dark.
Wait for dark. Look, Rost. I've thought it through, and I'm not going to shun you after the proving, okay? I won't do it. I'm not about to pretend that you never raised me.
Aloy, the law forbids all contact.
It does, and I don't care. I know what duty means for you, Rost, but all tribal law has ever done for me is take things away. And that's not gonna happen again.
Aloy, I must obey the law.
And so you will. I knew you'd say that, so this is what we'll do. I'll come to you in secret. No one will see me, so I won't get in trouble. And I know you won't talk to me because it's against the law, but I'll talk to you. It'll be my crime, not yours. You'll just listen. And that's how we'll handle this.
You've put a lot of thought into this.
I know. So you can stop worrying. It's handled.
Yes. So it is.
I don't understand. Those explosions are outside the Embrace. What can we do from in here?
The lesson will be taught in due time, Aloy. Till then, we wait.
I got Odd Grata her rabbits, for which she thanked
Actually, we
All
got her
Mother, of
board,
course.
didn't we?
It was All Mother working through you to bring her the rabbits.
You always say that, but I was there and I hunted alone.
And you always say that, and so make yourself alone.
I saw Karst and got that tripcaster I was talking about.
I hate to think what that outlawed trader charged for a weapon of that make.
It wasn't cheap, but the caster is worth it.
Perhaps. You'll know it's worth soon enough.
Still a while to go before dark. I guess I'll get some rest.
Good idea. There'll be no time for sleep tonight.
What? That was kind of weird. Oh, I forgot to find that boy. I don't remember where I was supposed to.
Opening a gate for an outcast?
Some who are shunned reaped honor before disgrace.
So much for tribal law.
I spoke to no one, and now we must both keep silent, for we are outside of the Embrace. These are the true wilds, Aloy, with threats unlike any you have ever faced.
That carcass. What sort of beast was that?
The tribe calls it a sawtooth, and it's something new. Something angry. Since they first started appearing 10 years ago, they have killed many braves.
Yeah.
Follow the path. It's not far.
That cabin. What happened to it?
A machine, that's what.
What sort of machine does that?
The sort of machine you're hunting now.
Oh. I see.
Oh, I finally figured out how to fill up that green bar. That's just the stuff I have in the pouch.
I'll watch your carcass. I'll harvest the parts.
Watch your surroundings.
I see it. Anyway, I got kind of into the game, I forgot. So yeah, what is it like now then? In the time since Exodus, you know, the 2,000 years later, I believe it's around the time Jesus was there. May have been, though, more or less. Actually, I need to look it up. I'm off with the dates now. But in the time between Exodus, the time Jesus came, was there, it seemed like the people were just in this heavy routine of living a faith that was, you know, maybe close to what they thought Moses wanted them to live, right? There was definitely interpretation. We saw Jesus kind of have like this argument with the Pharisees and Sadducees about different things mentioned earlier. You know, is resurrection real? Or Pharisees asked him about divorce at some point because that was a debate of the time, and why did Moses allow this or Moses allow that?
I'm here now.
Silent strikers are one.
Why are we the only ones out here tonight? Why can't the tribe's braves hunt this machine?
They did. The kills we passed are theirs. And tomorrow, they will hunt again.
They won't need to. This machine will be my kill.
Or your death.
And
Careful.
from what I've read about Jewish culture at that time, there was a lot of that going on. They had a lot of open debates about what to believe, what not to believe, who to follow, who not to follow. There were two lines of thoughts, two different rabbis, and that's actually where the question came from about divorce. You know, there was like two different rabbis who had two prominent thoughts about that, and that's actually what they were asking Jesus, like basically which rabbi do you take sides with, and Jesus' answer actually ended up forming his own opinion and his own side. It wasn't one that went along with either one of the rabbis that presented an opinion that people kind of aligned themselves with at the time. And
An entire lodge wrecked by sawtooths? How many were there?
I didn't bring you here to answer questions, Aloy. I brought you here to deal with that.
It's huge. How do you defeat it?
That will be for you to decide. This hunt is yours to make, Aloy. Yours alone. No matter what happens, I will not intervene. You understand? You are on your own.
I should stay out of sight. I can use the tall grass to approach. Okay, let's see. Where can I place my traps?
oh my gosh, that is big. And to me, like I was read like around 2nd century Judaism. There's like sources like Alfred Edersheim. It's probably the main one. Life and Times of Jesus the Messiah, and another book I can't remember the title of it off the top of my head right now. Oh shoot! Why'd I do that? It seems like a lot of people were just kind of going through the motions with Judaism. And they had the temple, so they were happy about that. And the disciples kind of voiced that opinion when they asked Jesus about that. They were like, "Oh, look at the temple, isn't it beautiful? You know, the walls and everything, and isn't it wonderful?" And Jesus' answer to them was, "Surely, and I tell you, like, this temple's not going to stand." And it kind of happens to us. We're like walking around, we're like, "Hey, look at how great the things that we've made are," or how great, especially when it comes to our faith, like especially like something like a church. Um, we can do that kind of thing and look at the things that we've built, rather than look at the people inside of those things that we've built. Right? Look at the relationships, and I think there's a reckoning coming. But actually, it's already happened. Right?
I'll have another shot for this one. It saw me. I should scan it. See what that reveals. Fascinating. Looking for me.
So I think there's a lot of comparisons there. Focused on the game right now, sorry. So,
Why did I bring you here?
Not to answer questions.
Aloy.
Survival requires perfection. It was a test to hone my skills against a dangerous new machine.
Follow. These are Nora hunting lands. They must be protected. If you hadn't destroyed the Sawtooth, how many Braves might it have killed or injured tomorrow? The lesson lives within the question, Aloy. For years, you've trained to win the Proving, but only for yourself. As a Brave, it will be your duty to fight for your tribe.
My tribe? You said I wouldn't need them.
But I never said the tribe wouldn't need you. The strength to stand alone, Aloy, is the strength to make a stand. To serve a purpose greater than yourself. That is the lesson you must learn. And remember it. After the Proving. And after I'm gone. We're finished here. Follow.
now, I think,
Dawn has passed.
oh,
This will be your last day in the Embrace as an outcast. Use the time to set your mind on the challenges before you. When it is time for you to go to Mother's Heart, I'll be waiting for you along the way.
I understand the final lesson, Rost.
Do you?
But if I'm going to stand for something, it'll have to be something I believe in.
Then I hope you find it, Aloy. I hope you do.
I'll go back to the cabin with you.
I'm not heading there just yet. I have other plans.
Oh, such as?
I'll be waiting for you when it is time.
I'll see you at Mother's Heart then.
You will.
I was gonna say, just thinking about now, I think one of the reasons why I really wanted to find out more about the faith that Jesus authored and perfected was because, like I said way back at the beginning of this, it just felt like, man, it's focusing too much on what, you know, okay, I was doing a lot of Bible studies, and we were doing Ezekiel in our small group, and was teaching like premillennialism and amillennialism and postmillennialism, and you know, pre-trib and mid-trib, and just all the different views, right? Because we go through Ezekiel, like, well, where does Ezekiel's temple fit into the worldviews here with the end times and everything else? And it was an interesting discussion. We're just trying to teach all these different views. I always try to teach like balanced views and all this kind of thing. But it really did pose a good question. I think it was my cousin who's just like, I don't know. I just kind of like try to focus on this is what it is. You know, I guess it's never really been important to me or something like that, she said. And I was like, kind of like, huh, you know, teaching all this stuff is not that important, but I was wondering about that, and I was like, is it really that important? And I really started thinking about it more. I was like, man, honestly, it does kind of feel like I'm just teaching to people what other people have come up with and thought is important to learn or argue
Go
about.
quietly.
Right? And so I was like, man, should I really be spending all my time? That's a lot better. More like playing with him. And so that's all I was like, man, I wish I could just study more about what Jesus perfected and what he authored. And if there is evidence pointing to the fact that part of what Jesus perfected and authored is this idea that as being his disciples, being in his faith, we are now able to enter into the direct presence of God, like the Kavod Adonai, into that throne room, into that dwelling place where he's surrounded by angels and everything else. Like, what does that look like? And how am I able to achieve that? And what does that do for me? Or how am I able to do that? Or what does it do for God? You know, what does it do for this world? And I focused a lot on how or what that does for me in the last year. And what it does for me is brought a lot of healing. In fact, I talked about the anxiety I had and the healing that I've undergone. And by knowing that I have that presence with me, that I'm always in the presence of God, that I'm in that Kavod Adonai always, that where I go, He goes, and that I'm in Him, and He's in me.
Oh,
and I'm
useful.
not just speaking in like nebulous terms, like some concept that's just floating out there, but it's actually like something real and tangible. I think that's what's really helped me become free of the things I struggle with in terms of mental health issues like anxiety. And again, I don't want to belittle or put past anybody else's issues. This is what's worked for me, and I think in time I'm going to figure out exactly how to teach others to experience what I've experienced. I'm getting to that place where I can put into words and form the ideas and teach what I've learned, because a lot of it is experiential right now, and I'm trying to...
The branches can cut like claws.
Trying to figure out the right way to say things, and it's not easy, because again, some of what I say is going to fall into categories of things that other men have taught, and then so that'll put me into a category, right, where people say like, oh, you're Pentecostal, or you're like some other kind of denominational belief or thinking, and that will crush me because I don't believe in it. Nice, you know, we have fast travel.
Looks good. This must be Brom's camp. Better clear out those watchers.
I'm right here. Got it. Much better. Okay. But I think it's knowing that presence and experiencing it. Like I don't want to fall into some category. And I've watched the Tammy Faye Baker thing. Was it Tammy Faye Baker or Tammy Lynn Baker? I don't remember. The Tammy thing that's on
Blood, but
HBO.
no body. There's gotta be more to this.
And I've watched other things like Righteous Gemstones, and I've learned more. I don't know, Righteous Gemstones is a good example.
Looks like a few drops of blood.
But I've
leak
seen
away
some
from
stuff
the
like
camp.
the Pentecostal backgrounds, and I do not want to be lumped into that experience and people saying like, oh, God spoke to me and this and that and the other. Although that is what He does, and I feel like, it's been co-opted by like some of the crazies. And that kind of stinks. There's a bunch of them. I'll figure it out. Figure out how to word it in a way where people can experience.
Whose knife is this? Did someone attack Brom with it?
This experience and have like this experience
Looks like
with
more
God,
blood
that as you get
leading
close
away
to
from
Him
here.
and you enter into this presence with Him, like He's able to show you the stuff that you need to work on. I remember like the things that I worked on, were revealed to me by Him in dreams. And I sat there and I thought about it and worked on it. And it's because of the relationship that I'm in with Him, and because of the presence I'm in with Him, and because
There,
my
bucket.
sin has been cleansed by His Son. I've been
Did someone bring the
forgiven.
blood to the camp?
And it happened like relatively quickly.
The trail of blood ends here.
And He wants that for all of
Whoever
us.
left
It's
it
not
must
just
have
for me.
also left tracks.
be walking this way or that way. Anyway, I'm just gonna keep playing here because I'm having fun. I also gotta find a way to save.
I can get out of this.
Where is this kid at? Anyway, so yeah, I'm done for the night. I think I'm just gonna keep playing until I find a save point. But thanks for watching. I'm gonna end the stream now. But I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna post this stuff on YouTube. I think tomorrow I'll get on, download it from Twitch, and then go and post it on YouTube. YouTube channel is I'm Barabbas podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. And I'll be putting together some stuff for Monday. My students have been my students have been reading some pretty cool stuff for their research projects and stuff. And I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and just share some of the things that they've been reading, some of the research articles that they've been studying and working on, and use that for material. Alright, bye. Peace out.